Hi, I'm Shilley and welcome to another video. In today's video I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about roses and more specifically how you can grow roses in any kind of space at home. Roses are a quintessential garden favourite and it's easy to see why. They produce these beautiful bright flowers right the way through the summer season, and some varieties of roses are also incredibly well scented. It just creates a really good all-round garden plant. Now you may think that you can't really grow and enjoy roses properly without having a large amount of space in the garden. This one here is very mature, it's in the ground and has been for a while. But you can get patio roses which are specifically suited to being grown in containers so that you can enjoy them on your patio, balcony or garden, whatever space you've got. I'm going to be focusing on those today, specifically how to plant them and how to look after them to ensure that you get the best out of your garden rose. When it comes to selecting out your patio roses, there is a whole host of different varieties providing you with different shades of colour, slightly different sizes and also different degrees of fragrance. What I would suggest is buy your patio rose from a reputable garden centre or rose retailer, and you should expect to pay between £10 and £20 for your patio roses, so relatively inexpensive. What it comes down to then is just your colour preference. As you may have seen from my other videos, my colour scheme for the patio this year is predominantly reds, pinks, oranges, very hot colours. So what I've selected are two roses. The first is called Raspberry Royale, which is this one here. Beautiful deep red flowers with a very delicately scented bloom. It's a really beautiful rose. This rose is only going to grow to about 60 centimetres tall and about the same wide, so not very big at all, making it perfect for growing in a container. The other rose that I've got is called Conservation and looks like this. So it's got more of a peachy, pinky, yellow, sunset kind of colour almost to the flowers and has a slightly stronger scent than the Raspberry Royale one. So both perfect varieties for growing in containers and specifically sold as patio roses. So do keep an eye out when you're visiting your retailer that the roses do specifically state patio. Now a couple of top tips to bear in mind when shopping for your patio roses is that the foliage should look really lush and a dark green colour, not pale in colour with no marks, blemishes, black spots, leaf curl, anything like that, because that could suggest the rose has problems or some issues that will need to be addressed. The rose should also have lots of buds to come as well as a few flowers out, but if the plant has a lot of flowers out and not many buds to come, I would avoid purchasing that particular rose because it's going to finish and it might not necessarily repeat flower later on in the season. So choose a rose that has nice foliage, more than one main stem, which are these here. So look at the base of the plant, make sure all the stems are healthy, make sure there's a lot of them, and just make sure that there are plenty of buds so that you can enjoy your chosen rose for a much longer time throughout the season. Now when it comes to planting these roses, it's a really simple process to plant them into a container. First of all, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about preparation and what soil you need to use, and then we'll get straight on with planting them. So what container exactly do you need? Well, you need to choose a container, whether it's plastic or ceramic, that is a fairly decent size. You want it to be about as deep as it is wide to ensure that the rose has plenty of space to take root, and also that means it's not going to dry out so quickly if we have a particularly warm spell through the season. The containers I've chosen here match the rest of the containers that I've got on the patio. They're just ordinary plastic, this terracotta kind of colour. What you need to make sure is that these plastic pots or your ceramic pots have adequate drainage at the bottom. I've drilled quite a few holes in here. I don't want the roses to get waterlogged in any way. And this particular container is 40 centimetres wide at the top and it's about 30 centimetres wide at the bottom, so it's slightly tapered, but it's also about 35 centimetres deep, which is plenty deep enough for these roses to establish themselves properly. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you give your roses you're about to plant a really good soak to make sure they're really well watered before transplanting them. Put some drainage at the bottom, some broken pots, some crushed plastic pots, and then start filling with soil. The soil that I'm going to be using is a specific mix produced for roses, trees and shrubs. It's readily available at most garden centres and most retailers will have their own rose or shrub kind of compost, which will be fine for these. So let's get started in filling these containers ready to plant the roses. So once you've filled your pot up to a good extent, what you want to do is you then want to create the planting hole for your rose. This should be right at the centre of the pot, and you need to ensure that there's enough space for you to put the root ball in comfortably and easily without forcing it in anywhere. That should be plenty. So now that you've created the hole in your container, you're ready to plant the rose inside. I'm going to start with the raspberry one. And what you need to do is gently tip it up and tap on the pot, which should hopefully loosen up the root ball, like that. As you can see, it's nice and wet from where we just soaked it with the hose as well. You can just gently tease away some of the excess soil around the top. I wouldn't suggest teasing out too many of the roots, that will be fine as it is. Place it into the container, like that. And then you can backfill around it using the rest of the compost and then top it up to a level so that the soil is nice and high in the container. When planting your rose, you want to make sure that you don't plant it too deep. I would suggest planting your rose in the container just a little bit above the soil level of the container that it was in. Generally, this will help the rose establish itself better and also provide a little bit of support to stop it from rocking around in the wind too much. Once you've done this, as I said, fill in with the rest of the compost around it, give it another good water in, and that's really all there is to it. Now that you have your rose bushes planted in the soil in the containers and watered in well, you can really just put them where you want to and leave them to it. Being in new soil with fresh nutrients, you shouldn't need to feed them this year. That will come into play from next year. Just a good general purpose shrub food will be fine in the spring, just as the plants are starting to grow for the season. As the season progresses this year though, you'll want to deadhead your roses. Now this has two important factors. One, it keeps your rose looking better, healthier, stronger, and the petals aren't going to fall all over the patio or the balcony. So deadheading is vital to ensure that the plant stays tidy. What deadheading can also do with certain varieties of roses is actually encourage more buds and more bloom. So how do you go about doing that? Well, let's have a look at this rose here. The first thing to look out for when removing faded flowers from your rose is any that have become damaged. Now unfortunately this stem here looks as though it might have been damaged, probably in transit or something like that, in the car on the way back from the nursery. It's absolutely fine, the rose will recover from that, but it needs to be taken off. What you need to do is you need to find where a node is, so that's back here where the stem is branching from there. And you just need to get a sharp pair of secateurs or scissors and simply snip it off like that. What that will do is it will send out fresh growth from there, and you may even get a few more flowers as well. Seeing the petals drop off from a flower is a sure way of knowing that it is on its way out. What you want to do here is you just want to either snap or cut right back there, and that should hopefully encourage more flowers and save you the mess of petals all over wherever your roses are. Keep doing that regularly throughout the summer until your rose finishes flowering. And that's all there is to planting, looking after and caring for your brand new patio roses at home. I hope this has shown you that even in a very small space, a balcony or a very small patio, that you'll be able to grow and enjoy these beautiful plants and enjoy their fragrance all summer long. And also they're pretty easy to look after, but you get that lovely burst of colour. Make sure to keep your roses well watered throughout the summer, especially during dry spells or if it's in the rain shadow of the building. Just make sure you do keep on top of the watering. Deadhead regularly and you'll be able to enjoy them right up until the first frosts in the autumn when the foliage will start to die back. Thanks very much for watching as always. Make sure that you do hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my future video updates. And also like the video if you enjoyed it and found it useful. Post any comments, questions or queries you have in the box below and I'll be happy to answer. Keep up to date with everything else that's happening in the garden via my social media channels. Facebook is facebook.com/Jack Shilley Gardener, Twitter is @JackShilley, and Instagram is also Jack Shilley. Once again, I hope you enjoyed today's video and I will see you next time.